Camden Riviere, first time back in Australia for about 5 years. How's it feel to be back?
It feels great. Little jet lag. Just got in today, but I love coming to Hobart. It reminds me a lot of Newport, Rhode Island. I love the setup of the town, and the club's so nice. And obviously, it's a great time of year to be here. So just looking forward to a great week.
First time in Hobart since the 2019 World Doubles. Can you reflect a bit on that tournament, what the experience was like back then?
God, it's tough to remember. You're dating me here a little bit. It was a great time. Tim and I, we managed to win the title, to retain the title. I had actually not played for, I think, 6 to 8 months before that because I'd had very bad Lyme disease. And so I remember Tim calling me up and saying, hey, we're going to defend, right? And I said, sure, but you're going to have to carry the team. And so I showed up with having not really hit a ball at all or anything. And I kind of had to play my way through the week, which was a little frustrating. But we managed to find a way. But I think this is actually my first time playing singles here. So it's exciting.
Yeah, how does the singles differ from the doubles on a court like Hobart?
Well, I don't know. I haven't played singles here yet. It's always different because in doubles, the ball's obviously flying around more volleys, whereas in singles, it's more technical, more cut shots into the corner, more control needed. So it'll be a little adjustment, but I very much like how the court plays. I think, the smaller openings, the severe tambour, kind of suit my style of play. It requires a lot of accuracy and consistency. And I think those are two things that I like to try to do in my game.
What's brought you back to the Australian Open for the first time in 5 years then?
I'm getting older and, not sure how many more trips I'm going to make. It's a huge endeavor coming over here. It's a huge expense. This is definitely the biggest trip for most of us, travel-wise and cost-wise. And so, it's not one that we're going to play as regularly as the other ones. And I thought to myself, it's been a while, and, I'd like to come give it a shot.
So turning to the draw, you've got a first round match against Nick Stenning. There's a number of young Australians in the draw. What's it like to see some young blood coming through?
It's fantastic. I was lucky enough to meet most of the young Australian guys 2 years ago, I guess, when they came over for the Clothier Van Allen tour that we had in Washington, and they are just such a great group of guys. First of all, they're playing at an extremely high level at such a young age, but just as people, they're great. Their attitudes, they're all very serious. They're all trying to improve and putting a lot of work into their games. And it's just really cool to see that next generation kind of come on up.
So you're assuming the matches go to seed. You'd play Rob for the first time outside of a final in about 15 years.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
What's it going to be like going up against him now? He obviously had the calf injury at the British. We're not quite sure how he's going to pull up after that. But going into that without the spectacle of there being a final on, or is there always a spectacle when the two of you are on court?
I think there's always a spectacle. I think we've had so many incredible matches at so many tournaments that, especially now having not had it happen for a while, I think people will be very excited. Obviously, we're in Hobart, where he's from. They tend to be quite a loud and boisterous crowd. So, I think there's a lot to be expected if we were to make it to the semis and get to play each other. I always look forward to getting out there with him, whether he's Rob 15 years ago or Rob now. He still does amazing things and incredible things, and it's always it's always fun to get out there with him and bash it around.
When I spoke to the British, we talked a little bit about how when you're in the UK, you can feel a little bit like public enemy number one. What are you expecting from the crowds here in Hobart this week?
I think, I've known everybody here for a very long time, and they're great people. They're so friendly. But do I think that if I come up against a Rob, are they going to root for him? Of course, and I would expect nothing less. But I think one of the things that I think differs here from England is that here the crowd is very loud and involved all the time. And that's what we want. We want atmosphere, whether it's for you or against you. You just want constant atmosphere. And I think that over here, especially, you get a lot more of that. I think in England, it tends to be quite quiet. not a lot of cheering or energy for periods, and then all of a sudden there is, and it makes it stand out more. Whereas here in the past, I've always found it's just so much fun because the crowd is so into the match at all times, and it just makes it that much better.
Who are you looking at on the opposite side of the draw that might come up and challenge you?
I mean, you've got, Nikki withdrew, unfortunately. So, I think the idea of if seeds went to form of like a he and Ben precursor to their eliminator would have been really cool to see. I think Kieran's always a bit of a dark horse coming through. I have to back my doubles partner, Chris Chapman. I know how well Chris can play. I battled it out with him for years when he was still playing on the tour. I know what he's capable of, and I think it's still in there. I expect to see him playing and hitting the ball the way I always have. I think it's going to be a really interesting bottom half. I think we got some great matches lined up in there, and I think Ben, it's his to lose in terms of getting through that side. Going into this now eliminator process and cycle, I think that he should be looking at this as a builder tournament where he wants to start off on the right foot, beat through, get to the final, and kind of go from there, obviously. So I would think that's kind of how I would see it going.
Turning now to the doubles, you're playing with Chris Chapman for the first time, I believe. Can you tell me about how you think you might line up as a pair?
Oh, I think we're gonna have a blast. I think win, lose, draw, we're definitely gonna have the most fun. We used to always have the most fun when we were playing against each other in doubles, because I think the way we both look at doubles is quite similar in that, Chris loves to run around. He loves that high pace, the ball moving around off of a lot of walls into areas of the court that maybe it doesn't traditionally end up in, and that's my wheelhouse in doubles. So he and I've never played together, but he was always someone that I looked at and thought, if we could get on the same side of the net as each other, I think we could have really good results, but also just have a really good time doing it.
Turning now to the World Championships, we've had the announcement of the venues for the first round eliminators. As someone who has to sit back and relax and wait till you get an opponent, what are your thoughts on how that's played out?
Obviously, it's very different than last time around. I think home and away for John and Steve is going to be super interesting. I personally love that format. That's my favorite because it gives you an opportunity to play on your own court, but you have to prove yourself on the road for the most part. John will, in theory, be in a position where he could lose in Chicago and come back, win two, and still get through. But either way, you're having to try and prove your mettle on an away court, which I think is really fun. I think that's going to be super interesting. And the way Nikki and Ben's worked out, with Ben actually winning the original bid and Nikki getting the second chance to up his, I think that'll put a bit of fire under Ben to do well. But I think Nikki, will love having that match on his home court, right? Like, I think home court for these guys means a lot, right? Like for all of us, it can be a huge advantage. And so I think, obviously you turn the story however works for you, right? If you're Ben, you've got none of the responsibility and all of the opportunity, right? He just gets to come, turn up, play, put his absolute best foot forward. He doesn't have to think about the rest. So if you're him, that's how you have to look at it. If you're Nikki, you're saying, all right, I know my court better than anybody. I fancy, myself against anybody to play at my best. So, it's funny because you're both guys are going to spin that story to suit them, but that's what you have to do to create the most confidence. And but I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is going to be the most competitive series. I think last time John ended up being very, very dominant through the eliminators, and I still think he should be the favorite going into it. But I think that these other guys have closed the gap, and I think with the difference in how the bids went through, it's going to be a little bit tighter this year.
What's it like watching on for those eliminators as the champion? What are you looking for that the rest of us might not be able to be able to see?
First of all, it's great because having been through that process so many times, I understand the stress of the training and the different things and how little it takes to go wrong to derail your quest to become world champion. So to be able to sit back and not have to worry about it on my end is very nice. But at the same time, it's a lot of great match practice and competitive opportunity that these guys have to see their games improve and kind of build confidence in themselves. So what I look for in it is there's not a smoking gun of something that they're all of a sudden going to do different than what they were doing before that's brought their game to a new level. I think a lot of times it's very small changes that are just maybe more consistency of shot, more consistency of a serve, playing a pressure point very well, and a little bit of decision making, in terms of who they're playing against. So, I always look for all of those things just to see. But the truth of it is that they're really focused on the person at hand. And then, if you get through your first round, then your sole focus is the next guy. I don't think they're out there saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this against Camden in the final." I think very much, they're going to they know they have a period once you qualify of 4 or 5 months where you can say, now I'm focused on just that. So it's hard to kind of take anything you see too much at face value.
All right, Camden Riviere, thank you very much.
Thank you.